Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Be sure to give this video a like or a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. From whatever platform you're watching, I really appreciate it. It really helps out my channel. Before I dive into the topic, I wanted to show you my novel. So if you're kind of tired of your favorite fiction being subverted by corporate overlords, definitely check out my novels. I've got Cacophony, which is kind of a paranormal action story about angels fighting demons. Then, of course, I've got my Seven Royals series. So this will be a trilogy. Two are out right now. I've got All Good Things and Breaking the Stars. You can get all of these books on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. But if you want a digital version of Breaking the Stars, you have to go to BookLocker.com. It's there exclusively. So I'm continuing my series on Rings of Power, which is Amazon's fan fiction, adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. They're taking inspiration from stuff that happened in the Second Age that they get in the appendices. And I believe I corrected myself before, but just in case I want to cover all my bases, I was under the impression Amazon had the rights to the Silmarillion. Apparently that isn't so. They have the rights just to Lord of the Rings, the Hobbits, and the stuff that happens in the appendices. Hence, some of the conflagration going on, I guess. But we're in episode 4, and I'm just so you know, I'm going to give a rundown, and this rundown will have spoilers. I'm going to cover basically the whole synopsis, so there will be spoilers. If you don't want to hear that, jump ahead where I just kind of give my general thoughts on the episode and the show overall. So it opens up with Queen Regent of Numenor, Muriel. She has a nightmare of the island kingdom being flooded. But in the dream, like it opens where she's like dedicating children for some reason, but then when she sees the flood, it doesn't look like she's in danger. It looks more like she's holding in a fart. I just wanted to throw that in there because I thought it was weird. So she wakes up from this nightmare, and there are some citizens of Numenor who are discontent with what's going on. They're angry that there's an elf, which this particular elf, I don't blame them, but they're very angry about it. So the prime minister comes in and he calms the crowd, saying that the elves will never interfere in the things of man. His son kind of flirts with Isildur's sister, who, by the way, I could be wrong about the PM's son, but Isildur's sister is a totally made-up character from the show, and she's a totally useless character for the show. She's just there to bring sort of the CW style of drama. I don't know why. Well, so Muriel speaks with Galadriel, and basically she's angry that she had left the palace when she asked her not to. She tells her that she's angry that Halbrand beat up some of her citizens. This happened in episode 3, of course. Well, Galadriel and her get a little catty, and Galadriel tells her that she thinks Halbrand is the lost king of the Southlands, and they need to bring him back to the Southlands because she believes that Sauron is planning an invasion and to turn it into his home base, which of course we know is Mordor. In episode 3, they showed a map of the Southlands, and it looks exactly like the map of Mordor. So they get kind of catty with each other, and Muriel, for some reason, Galadriel, for some reason, insults Muriel's father, so that gets her thrown in prison, of course. And so it shows Isildur, he's training to become a seaman, a member of the Numenorian Navy, but then there's an incident, and he takes the blame for it, but him and 2 of his friends who are supposed to become sailors, they get dismissed, and they get into a fight because they blame Isildur. Now, the TV show had a little bit of confusion because in the scene, the reason there was a disruption, it wasn't Isildur's fault, but he heard a voice. But then later, they acted like it was a real event, like even from Isildur's own dialogue, so that was a little bit of a narrative confusion there. Anyway, back in the Southlands, Arondir meets the leaders of the orcs who are in the Southland, and it turns out it's an elf. Big shocker. None of us could have guessed that from the trailer. But anyway, the orcs call him Father. They have a little bit of this heart-to-heart, and he gives Arondir this mysterious message. So we then go to the humans who were in the Southland. They had evacuated to an abandoned elven tower. So we meet Rowan again and her son Theo, and they have like this argument because a lot of the people in the tower don't think Bronwyn should be leading them because they're starting to starve. Perfectly rational point of view. Theo and a friend of his sneak out, but then when the sun goes behind the clouds, the friend just leaves Theo, and of course the orcs come, and Theo is attacked by one, but he manages to get away because he has a stolen orc dagger, and the orc kind of reacts like the dagger is important, but he manages to hide in a well. So then we go back to Elrond. Him and his fellow elves are starting to build the forge, and he still wants Durin to help, but Durin isn't really able to be found for some reason. So then Elrond goes and talks to Dissa, who kind of dismisses him, but he kind of spies on them and manages to overhear where they're going, where he is. So he confronts Durin, and Durin is angry. He's like, "Why did you spy on me?" But Elrond kind of calms him down, and he swears secrecy of what they're finding in the mine, and it turns out to be mithril. Well, then there's a cave-in. So we're back in Numenor. There's another really boring flirtation between the PM's son, who is a totally forgettable character, right along with Isildur's sister. They're kind of still flirting with each other. Galadriel is still in prison, and Halbrand tells her to seek out what the Queen Regent fears. Well, then the PM arrives to let Galadriel know that they're going to send her back to Middle-earth, which is, by the way, everything Galadriel asked for. She then proceeds to beat up the guards and escape, and we get another boring scene with Isildur and his sister, where he kind of like, bleh, he does an exposition dump on her about, how he got fired and how that makes him feel sad, and they hear that she's escaped. Well, so Galadriel breaks into the tower that's in Numenor to talk to the king, and she discovers Muriel is already there and that the king is dying, and Muriel kind of tells her that the Numenorians turned against the king because they wanted him, or because he wanted to restore relations with the elves. And they kind of have like this girl boss standoff moment, but then Muriel shows that she has a Palantir, which is a seeing stone in the tower. Galadriel touches it and she sees the same thing that Muriel sees. So, and it's the vision of a flood coming to destroy Numenor. And then they get catty again, and Muriel just basically says, "I'm still sending you back to Middle-earth." Again, this is everything Galadriel wanted, okay? She's been saying this for the last several episodes. So Theo's friend back in the Southlands, he returns and lies about what happened to Theo. Theo's still hiding in a well, and for some reason, it's in late at night, he decides that's the time to escape, even though there's more orcs, because it's night. Man, this kid is stupid. So of course, they get found, or he gets found, but he's saved by Onondir, and they run into a forest, and of course, Bronwyn is there because she's figured out, that Theo is missing. And then the sun just randomly rises. Man, I wonder how time works. So the dwarves honor the ones that were in the mine shaft when it collapsed. Dissa sings a song, which I have to give credit. I don't know if this was just natural, but the actress who plays Dissa actually sang the song very well. I thought she did a good job. Her voice sounded really good. Durin is angry, though, because his father has sealed off the mithril mine, and Elrond comforts his friend and convinces him to reconcile with his father, which they do, and they kind of hint that they're going to start working on the tower. So Bronwyn thanks Arondir for saving Theo, and he lets him know that what the orc's message, or excuse me, the father's message, and it's that if they surrender to the orcs, they'll be allowed to stay in the tower, but if they don't, they're going to be slaughtered. And Theo gets confronted by this strange old man who tells him that the dagger has the power of Sauron and that they should be ready because something is coming. Oh, what could that be, I wonder? Anyway, so then Galadriel is about to be sent back to Middle-earth, but then just before she leaves, petals from the Numenorian tree fall, so that convinces Muriel to ask for volunteers to to go back to Middle Earth, and Halbrand opts to stay behind. Isildur's father asks for volunteers to serve, and Isildur does it wanting to redeem himself. And then they have like this dumb sequence where the sister's like shocked that he volunteered. So it wasn't that bad. I'm exaggerating, obviously. Okay, so that's pretty much the episode. So here are my thoughts. There's a lot of jump scares in this episode, but they're not scary. Like they're clearly meant to frighten you. Like hands coming up, dogs suddenly biting things, and you're just kind of like, okay. So that was a thing. Oh, and so many heart-to-hearts. We've learned nothing from the CW, right? Like, oh, every episode, nothing happens. They just have heart-to-hearts. Heart-to-heart. Oh, heart-to-heart. My heart to your heart. Like, okay, so I can't say that nothing happens in this episode because they move the plot forward. Obviously, the forge is being built. Galadriel is finally getting off Numenor. I don't know why that took 4 episodes, but it's finally happening. Again, if this was not Lord of the Rings, I can see it being a passable show. It's still not good. It's certainly not great, but I could see how people could kind of stomach it. But it's a full-on, supposed to be a Lord of the Rings adaptation, but it just comes off as bad fan fiction, especially with the random changes. Like Muriel is like this girl boss who doesn't know how to emote. Like she has the same expression in every scene no matter what is going on. And once again, I just got to complain about Galadriel. I know I'm beating a dead horse. This is not Galadriel. What is going on here? This is not the kind, graceful, beautiful woman. She's like a freaking ninja. She takes on 5 Numenorian guards, which no elf has been seen to be able to do ever, but she's able to like dispatch them and lock them in her cell, and somehow get on rooftops and act like Spider-Man where she's like slinging. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is not Galadriel. I don't know why they just didn't create a new character. This is not Galadriel. Galadriel did not behave this way. She was kind, graceful, beautiful, but no, her and Muriel have to have these constant catty moments. They're like, it's boring and it's dull and has nothing to do with what is going on. What is the point of this? Why is there all this relationship drama? And what's so annoying about it is Muriel, all Galadriel has wanted is she wants to return to her people. She wants to return to the people because she had a vision. Because she's brave and beautiful and bold. And she had this vision. And she has to tell her fellow elves about it. So then the queen gives her exactly what she wants. And she's still not happy. Oh my gosh, what a spoiled brat. This is not Galadriel. And one thing my wife pointed out that I didn't even notice was from the scene when she escapes from the cell to when she goes to the tower, all of a sudden she has eyeliner. It may have been on before, but it was certainly way more pronounced. And now you might be saying, well, Jacob, why are you watching it if you don't like it? Just let people enjoy things. Listen, if my critiques of the show prevent you from liking it, that's a you problem, and you need to talk about it with a medical professional. As for me, no. I am going to gatekeep, and I am going to guard Tolkien, because this is important. For one thing, the Palantir is a seeing stone. It is not a crystal ball. I don't know where they thought this was a good idea. What you're supposed to do with the Palantir is you set it on a high place and you adjust it, and then you can see what the other seeing stones are seeing. And sometimes it reveals the mind of the person who is looking through it. It's not a crystal ball. And they could have easily given another explanation of this, but no, we're going to slap on that branding and make it a Palantir, a seeing stone, and we're all going to be happy about it, and we're just supposed to accept it. Absolutely not. And I also would like to say, Theo is a terrible character. I hope he gets killed off. I do. He is a terrible character. He is a spoiled brat, just like Galadriel, except they're trying to make him, way more jumpy, I guess. But it's really freaking annoying. And, someone said, oh, Bronwyn was created because we want to show how powerful single mothers are and all this. Listen, I have friends who are single mothers. They are nothing like Brownwyn. She has no idea what her son is doing. He is a spoiled brat, and instead of confronting him, she lets him get away with everything he does wrong. He behaves like a stupid child, and she doesn't even chastise him. She just kind of, gives him that nagging mother thing. She is not a good single mother. She is not a person that single mothers should emulate. Like I said, I have friends who are single mothers. Their children grow up to be amazing stand-up citizens, and sure, they might have had some problems with not having a father in the home, obviously, but still, they were good mothers who raised their children well, and Bronwyn is not one of these. Her child is a terrible character. If he gets killed off, I will cheer. Like, that's how much I hate this character. He is obnoxious and he is foolish. And to think that Tolkien's masterpiece has been brought down to the CW level of drama, it's embarrassing. So many heart-to-hearts. Oh, and by the way, where are the Harfoots? Yeah, none of these characters are necessary. You could have told the story by just focusing on 2 or 3 central characters, but no, we've got to have 12 different characters who are all representative of something, and because that's inclusive. Inclusivity is just another word for woke. What is woke? Woke is the insertion of identity politics into not just the subtext, but the narrative and the character developments of the plot within the plot. There, I defined woke in entertainment for you. It is stupid, it is silly, and it's an embarrassment. And Tolkien would be rolling over in his grave if I believe that was a thing that actually happened. But I really think that Amazon really misjudged it. And like I said, if this was just a regular fantasy show, an original fantasy show, I could see how it could be passable. I could see why certain people would enjoy it, because it's certainly not the intellectual, the creative, and amazing story, the sheer modern classic notes that were given to us in J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. If you liked that video, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Give it a thumbs up. And I would be honored today if you would subscribe. No matter what platform you're watching on, please subscribe. Hit that follow button. Share it out all over the place. And check me out on some of my other socials. I've got links in the description below. Also, check out my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, and consider supporting this channel on StudioJakeMedia.locals.com. It really helps smaller creators out. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.